888-848-5555. All right, Max, is it working?
Yes, sir.
Hey, can you hear us loud and clear? Everything good on your end?
I can hear you loud and clear, sir.
I like it when it works. Well, this is a long-time guest at this point. Max, I think you've been on 4 or 5 or 6 or something, however many times now, with lots more coming. We have some things in the works. But right now, Max has a new book out called New Work. And I believe these are some poems tonight from that book. But I can you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. And you can find his work at Amazon at Max Myers. So Amazon/Max Myers. And at this point, he's probably all over the internet and your newspapers. So keep checking it out. Check him out.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, no problem. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
Yep. Yeah. You there?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I thought it cut out for a second on my end, too. Yeah. Well, good to hear you're doing well. I'm trying to think of anything else that I missed. He has a lot of other books, so please check them out at Amazon. Amazon at Max Myers. But, I mean, we could jump right in if you want.
Okay.
All right.
Why not?
Let's see.
First poem?
Yeah, The Road to Love. Would you like me to read that, or would you like to read it?
It doesn't matter. Go for it.
All right, I'll read this first one. This one's called The Road to Love. Perhaps I was warned that the way to myself would be winding, with unexpected curves as it wove itself through my years. But not to worry, I was told. Everyone goes through this. The self, they said, is a journey of learning how to love myself. These many years late, it is easy to see the beauty that through the joys and sorrows has forged a loving heart within. Yes, the road has been winding. Perhaps they did warn me, with no attempt to deter me.
Good job. Good read.
Oh, thanks. Well, tell us a little bit about that one. I have some things I want to add on, but I want to hear your take first.
Well, the angst of youth kind of drove me. I'll just keep it personal, drove me. And, through my life, it was like, am I this or am I that? Am I a field worker? Am I a plumber's helper? And, what am I? And over a period of time, I just sort of came to the understanding of what I'm about and learned to accept both the light and dark sides myself, and to see the beauty of living, and that comes through allowing my heart to be my eyes, and that's what this really is about.
Oh, that should be the title of this show, Allowing Your Heart to Be Your Eyes. I like this a lot. I'm a fan of a lot of your work. A big reason because of how relatable everything you write is. You don't try to mince words too heavily, and when you have something mysterious you want to talk about, you try to at least point at it very carefully so people can walk along with you. And I would wager to say that this is something that 99% of people can relate to. Perhaps I was warned that the way to myself would be winding with unexpected curves. Yeah, boy. I can feel that one and resonate with it. Also, I like how you commented on the angst of youth, because, boy, haven't we all been there.
It's a necessary passage. We have to go through that. I don't think anybody's born mature. I think it's something that it has to be earned.
Yeah.
Hopefully, a person can arrive there, but. I'm not going to say that I'm finished growing up either.
I think the second you do, you're walking into something bad. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't interrupt there. I think the second you say you're done growing is the time that you're most vulnerable to something hitting you in the head.
Yeah, amen to that.
Yeah. And I really appreciate that in this piece, Max, you wove it around, because there's a lot of ways that this discussion can end. And I'm glad that it ended forging a loving heart.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good piece, Max. I like this one.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say on it?
No, maybe just to mention the last line of the fact that, people along the way try to steer your vision somewhat, But there wasn't anybody that really tried to deter me from my journey.
Oh, wonderful.
And for that, I'm extremely grateful.
Yeah, seriously. There's definitely a lot of other paths that could have taken down, and a lot of them, have a lot of deterrence and obstacles for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Good line on that end there, with no attempt to deter me. I'm glad you made it through successfully, Max.
So far.
Or at least success in how you wish to feel it and experience it,
Yeah.
Max, I appreciate the compliment on this last one on how I read it, but I want to hear how you read this next one.
All right. This next one is called Night Fruit. In the deliberate hours of the evening, when the last-minute straightenings occur, there sits in a cascade of thoughts. While the hands are keeping busy, these are the writer's fruited moments, where words seam themselves in hints, with images textured with creative weight, flow downstream like leaves adrift on their unknown journey, perhaps to wind up on a page completed, or, in this late hour they come, where will sleep find its place tonight?
Okay, give us something on that, because this is a beautiful, beautiful piece.
Well, first off, I had a lot of trouble with that word straightenings in the second line.
Yeah.
Apparently, I invented the word. But when you go about tidying up your room before you go to bed, putting your shoes out somewhere where you're not going to trip over them in the middle of the night and stuff like that, those are straightenings. And while you're doing that mindless activity, the mind is talking, and it sets a flow going of thoughts, and these thoughts are where, as a poet or a writer, inspiration comes from. Where I pick up things that after I lay down, as an example, these things, something that I thought rolls around in my head to the point that I have to get back up and get on my computer and write it down. So they're precious moments. And like I said, they see themselves in hints. They don't give you the whole story. They give you a thought, a line, 3 or 4 words that tie together. And out of those words, the inspiration comes, and the flow begins. And it's a flow, like a leaf adrift on an unknown journey. I don't know when I start a poem out what it's going to develop into or look like at the end. I have no idea. It just winds up on a page completed. What can I say for that?
Hey, wonderful.
Yeah.
I think lots of people have similar descriptions too. I've always found it beautiful that it happens. It seems to happen most when you're relaxed, and I think you described this perfectly. My favorite 2 lines are, in the deliberate hours of the evening when the last-minute straightenings occur. I had to mute myself because I was chuckling, because I those 2 lines tickled a nice spot inside of me. I appreciate it. It was beautiful, beautifully worded, well-crafted, I think, even if you had to come up with a new word. And, to be fair, Max, aren't all words made up?
Well, yes, at some point they were indeed.
Yeah, so there we go. We've witnessed a pioneering.
Yeah. That's a whole nother story, how letters became utterances. Yeah. It just baffles the mind how language evolved.
We'll have to have a show on that if you want.
You say?
Oh, I said we'll have to have a show on that if you want. That's a really fun discussion.
I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Hey, you just look at it and talk about it. It's the funnest part.
There you go.
Here I am making up words too. No, beautiful piece, I think. Adrift on their unknown journey.
Uh-huh.
Well, we have another one here too. This one is Poets. Do you want to take that one?
Okay. I love poets through and through. They're always giving something new. inspired souls with pen in hand see the world as no one can. I like plumbers, carpenters too. I adore what the trades can do, and painter's art can blow one's mind. But poets are my favorite kind. And they write of love and hate and war, and rainbows, lovers, trees, and more. They dive into hidden places, bring laughter or tears to all our faces. 'Tis a mystery how poets see, but poetic mysteries cool with me.
Oh man, those last two lines are wonderful. Well done. I wish my roommate was here with me. He has, well, let's just say we'll have to do another show, and I'll have to bring him on, and we'll have to have this piece on there, because I think he'd have some fun things to say about it. He considers himself a poet at heart, and I would love to see his reaction. Oh, Max, this is a beautiful piece.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Well, I don't know what else to say about it. It's sort of just it is what it is, you know. But I have made a habit in my life of avoiding reading poetry.
Oh.
Because I was fearful that somehow I would be sucked into copying a style or,
Yeah.
you know, judging myself against another poet or something like that. And but as of late, I have, as I mentioned to you before the show, I have located a few poetry sites on Facebook that I have become involved in, and a couple of them have asked me to be what they refer to as a moderator.
Oh, wow.
And that's just like, you know, check the poem out and see what you think about it, kind of thing. And so I've been reading lots and lots of poetry, and my goodness, there is some just absolutely wonderful poetry out there, some wonderful, wonderful poets. You know, there's something about the vision that poets have, you know, no less than the vision that the authors have. You know, anybody that can put together a stream of thought is an artist, and I admire it all. I just happen to be I think I'm a little better at poetry than I am at prose.
Mm-hmm.
But I do both.
Yeah.
But Lord knows I couldn't write a book if a novel if it, you know, if my life depended on it. But I handle these short poems pretty well, and some
little gems.
Some of them are a little bit longer than others, and
yeah.
But I love poets. I just think that they, from what I've read, their hearts are so open.
Yes.
And that's very attractive to me.
I've always appreciated the honesty you find in a lot of poetry. Really, writing of any form, I suppose. You could read into it that way, but in lots of them, especially poetry has always been kind of a fascination of mine too, because it does often feel like people are exposing their perspective of reality, and I've appreciated, as I've said, the honesty in that, because that is that's not easy to do, I don't think, especially to do it in a way that you're saying things that maybe are against the status quo or are new to you, or you don't understand what you're feeling and you're describing them. There's a lot of ways people unpack that, and it's always beautiful to see it unpacked in a piece of poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, Walt Whitman is... I never encountered Walt Whitman's poetry until about 8 years ago, and oh boy, I wish I had lived in his time. Although I don't think I would have endured the Civil War very well,
yeah,
or all the slavery and that sort of thing. But his view of the countryside and the cities and things like that, so profound and so wonderfully written, you know.
Yeah.
He paints such a marvelous picture with his words. But yeah, I admire writers, poets, writers.
Me too.
All forms of art.
Me too. Enough so that I was like, I should have a radio show about this stuff. It's pretty good.
yeah. There's a lot to talk about there.
And I should say, just to shameless, I should say a shameless plug. If anyone is listening right now and is like, man, this is, I'm enjoying this show and would like to participate in it, you can by submitting to me at write.onair@gmail.com, write.onair@gmail.com. You could be sitting in Max's seat hanging out with me and chatting about whatever you've written or whatever you want to bring to the table. Okay, back to it, Max. Sorry. And
Very
also,
good.
Don't forget to buy Max's new book, New Work. Was that out this year, by the way?
Summer of 2021.
Okay.
New Work, summer of 2021.
New Work, summer of 2021. And I have to get a copy of that myself at some point. I'll have one being sent out soon, I'm sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Got to make two I've sold then.
Wonderful.
One that I bought for myself and one that you'll buy.
Hey, flying off the shelves.
Oh, Lordy.
Well, who would you like to read this last piece?
I would prefer to read it if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
You okay with that?
Oh, yeah, I love it. I love listening to you read. This is great.
Okay. This one's called Walking. Thinking perhaps I could hide the tears in the rain falling now in sheets, blown by the wind, surely would muffle my crying, struggling just to catch my breath. But the rain knew that my salty tears were not hers, and my muffled crying was not the wind. It continued raining to wash away my pain, or put out the burning inside. I just kept walking.
Oh, man. Give me, if you can, some background on that, because I feel like I could read into it a couple different directions.
Well, I'm an emotionally centered person, and it doesn't take a lot for things to touch my spirit in that sense. And I don't know when in my life this occurred. It has occurred so many times in my life, but the memory of it is what brought the poem forward. And so it's based on a past experience, and that's the truth right there. I'll tell you what, I've been in tears this week with these fires going on. I have some very dear friends that lived up in Greenville, and dear friends, and they lost everything. They lost their home. They had honeybees. They lost their bees. They lost their horse.
Oh, no.
They lost their cat. They lost their gardens, their farm equipment. They just lost everything, and they got out with nothing but their dog and themselves. And I cannot, in my mind, I cannot imagine the pain of that. I told him, I said, the only thing that I can do is just sit here and cry. I just felt so bad. And part of it made me want to just take and give everything that I have away and not have anything that I could lose like that and have to suffer the loss of.
Yeah.
It's just such heartbreaking stuff that's going on,
Yes.
And anyway, I get touched by that stuff, and that stuff becomes fodder for writing. I have to write how I feel, or else it eats me up inside. And so anyway, this is kind of like that. Although this, I believe, was the loss of love.
Was I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last part. Was the loss of what?
Of love, the relationship.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Could be anything. It doesn't say, does it?
No, I appreciate pieces that are open-ended for the reader as much as I appreciate pieces that are not.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, Max, you've really kind of honed in on the style of relatability. Even in your piece tonight on poets, you didn't say anything there that was a hard edge that someone couldn't walk up and go, yeah, I kind of agree with this. I do like poetry. This is fun. Poetry's poetic mysteries are pretty cool with me. They're fun to read. No hatred in it. You've really keyed in on a style here that I'm actually really, really liking, Max. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we've got about 9 minutes left. I'm trying to think how I want to wrap up the end of the show. Last time, or one of the last times, we talked about, some advice you would give to new writers. So I'm trying to think.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should go along the lines of that. How about we wrap up with something like this? What would you tell someone having looked back at your own writing experience and thought, wow, this is something I really appreciated doing or not doing? Anything that comes to mind when I say that?
Appreciated doing that. Well, yeah, you kind of hit it on the head. I'm going to talk about a friend of mine to give you an example, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
And I don't know if the guy's listening in tonight or not. He may be listening in, but I got a buddy, dear friend, who was working on the waterfront, working on boats, ships, merchant seaman thing, and this guy worked his way up through the ranks of positions on ships, all the way till he became master mariner. And that's the highest rank you can have in shipping. He can pilot any ship, anywhere, any cargo in the world.
Wow.
And he did so for many years. And when he was done, he wound up writing a book recently called Following My Feet. It's an authentic American maritime story. His name's Buck Bateman. And this guy goes back in time through his memory and his notes and photographs of events in his life from the time he started on the waterfront. Now, I did the same thing with poetry by going back through my journals that I started back in the late 60s. So to answer your question, my statement would be write, and just keep writing. And eventually, at some point, if you decide that you're going to do something with your writing, you'll have something to go back to and look at, and you'll be able to trace a lifetime of activity in your writing. And I think that's the most important thing. Don't think about it. Don't think, oh, well, it was a nice day today. Write something down about it. Write down some little catch thing that you don't want to forget about.
Yeah.
A dream you had, or a thought that you had, or some inspiration you had. And all of those things will add up to
A collection.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll even second that. I think I agree with that whole statement. Max at some point asked outside of the show, hey, Kevin, you got to send me some of your writing. And I'm trying to go back through and check out what I want to send to him. And walking back through it has been quite cathartic for me, because there is a lot of stuff in there that I did kind of what you're describing. And I would second that. If you have things you want to write down, maybe just something like a monologue. You don't have to even pick a style. But putting it down in record for you to look at later is always something that is, I would say, worthwhile doing.
Absolutely.
Especially
worthwhile.
Yeah, especially as the years roll down the line. I think everyone is a writer in their minds, so put it on paper sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then 5 minutes left. Let's see. What's another fun question to ask? I like picking people's heads at the end of this. It's always a personal piece of enjoyment for me. So thanks for letting me do this, Max. Let's see. Well, any recommendations for some new book reading for people to check out?
Well, yeah. I'll go with Follow My Feet.
Okay.
By Buck Bateman. I encourage that one. And let me I have another one here. A poetry anthology by it's called Absolutely Poetry.
Okay.
By Steve Wheeler. It's on Amazon. Both of these are on Amazon.
Wonderful.
And then a young lady in the Philippines who is a poet and an artist and a cartoonist did a book called Where to Find Me.
Wow.
Her name's Mary Grace Gonzalez.
Wow.
And it's a wonderful little book of poetry. So these are great reads. Great reads, and there's one more that is called Insomnia Woman, and it is by Geraldine O'Dowd. And Geraldine O'Dowd is a poet, writer, dancer, artist who suffers severe epilepsy and has written her story in this book called Insomnia Woman, and it's available as well on Amazon. And it's an incredible story. This woman suffers abuse at the hands of the people that are supposed to be taking care of her, and so it's got some graphic photography in it. But her poetry is quite interesting, and she's a lovely individual with a great spirit, loves to dance. And so that's another one. So there you go. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4 plus mine. That's five titles there for interested people to check out.
Yeah, and I'll plug his book too, because you don't have to, Max. That's what I'm here for. New Work. It's New Work Summer 2021. Is that what it was?
Yep.
Okay. New Work Summer 2021, and you can find that at Max Myers on Amazon. Go to, I believe it's Authors. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Max, but I think it's Authors. You can find it on their website pretty easily. Max Myers, MaxMyers. And
yeah, you can even Google Max Myers books, and it'll come up.
Hey, he's everywhere. You got to check him out. He's had some great writing. I love it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, and then coming down the works too for future shows. The show within, or the piece that Max mentioned, Insomnia Woman. I'm probably going to have a show with her writing at some point. So stay tuned for that, everyone. But Max, it's been a pleasure having you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you very much. I so much appreciate it.
Oh yeah, and we're 1,000% for sure going to have you on again. So everyone, stay tuned for more of his work. It's beautiful.
Sounds great.
All right, have a good night, Max.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Bye bye.
Yeah, see you later. Well, everyone, that was Max Myers and Writing on Air. Just a reminder to everyone still listening, this is FM 90.1 KZFR Chico, listener-supported community radio for the Sacramento Valley, the foothills, and beyond. And if you want to be part of the show and submit to me and come on here and chat with me, like Max has just done, and talk about the pieces that you've had, you can do at write.onair@gmail.com, or do so by submitting to me at write.onair@gmail.com, WRITE.onair@gmail.com.